Hello, my name is Ron Wilson. I'm superintendent at USD 49. I'm excited to get the opportunity to visit with you a little bit about the proposed bond scope that is going out to our community for a May 10th election. I want to talk to you a little bit today about what we're looking at in terms of what our bond scope may look like. I think as a high school student, it's always important for you to understand we want to provide the best opportunities for you for your future. And what we've learned throughout the process of looking at our current facilities inside our district is that our high school it's full. We're over capacity. We have more students than the facility was built for. Roughly, we have over 900 students at Hayes High. The building was really built for about 850 students approximately. So we're about 50 students over capacity, but if we look at future growth for our community, we could be well over 100 students in no time at all. So of course, not only are we looking at a new Hayes High, we're looking at renovating the current Hayes High. That would be done for the middle school students to eventually move over into the current Hayes High building. Of course, that would need some renovations or some things that need to be done in that building. We would take the time before moving those middle school students in there and make it a good environment for middle school students to come into. Of course, another piece of the project is our elementary schools. All of our elementary schools will be touched throughout this project, giving them the needed space and things that they're requiring for going forward for, as we have young students who are coming into our educational system.
A passing of a bond would impact, first and foremost, space. I know it's something that has been heard quite a bit as we talk about the proposed bond, but space is really the issue for Hayes High, and I think specifically about the Commons area. Where do we put all of the people so that they have an opportunity to be at their best, right? Whether that's just in conversation, it's collaboration, it is preparing for an activity coming out of an activity, and that's academic or athletic. I think for our students, the opportunity to collaborate in a 21st century learning arena is what we're after. We want those students to be able to work with their peers, have the space and the resources available to them to, again, perform at their best self. And I think that's really where the bond could leverage those opportunities for our students. And I think, again, to be responsive to the kind of skills that are needed in our world right now, it's that element of space that's going to provide them those opportunities. And I think that's really important for our students so that they enter a workforce ready to really make a difference.
Passing the bond for us, it would be, I can't even describe how awesome it would be for our students and for our school, in the fact that we're just so short space-wise. We just have zero space for what we need for our growth. That begins with our classroom sizes. We've outgrown our building. We're 730 students, could be up to 750. We only have one gymnasium. We average at least 90 kids per hour in 3 different areas. For those students that have been in the gym, they understand how loud that is, and it's hard to do activities when you only have a certain designated space. We aren't allowed to have a full wood shop because our wood shop is about 1/3 the size, maybe even less than that, maybe 1/6 the size of Hayes High. And we don't have the ability to really teach that class the way it should be taught. When you go through and look at our mental health system that we put into our school, we don't have office space for people to work, and so that's important for us as well. Our classroom size for certain areas, for instance, art, we are busting at the seams. We have a couple of classrooms that we've had to create that aren't really designated to be classrooms, and so they're small square footage wise, and so for us to be able to be that future ready where we can do different types of instruction, we have to expand, and there's just no process for that here. If you move forward to even our weight room, which is very important for just in terms of PE and exercise, we don't have a place for us to do anything that we can expand with that as well. We're landlocked, so to speak. And then if you talk about activity-wise, we don't have the ability to have a second gym, which would help us in so many different things as well. Those students that have been here with our Falcon Squad, where we do intramural activity during the day. Again, we're limited on places we can go to do that. We're in the hallways most of the time, and it's not always convenient for some of the things we want to do. So for us, the bond, if we talk about space and what it does for us, it would be fantastic. It would really be a game changer in so many ways. And so it's not a need, it's a want, or excuse me, I'm messing that up. It's not a want, it's a need. Well, it is a want, but the need piece, we could really, really grow and probably be way better than what we are now.
As you know, all of our elementaries are our oldest buildings in the district. And so really the first benefit of the bond is that it would address some of the safety issues that we have. We would have tornado shelters, which we currently do not have safe tornado shelters. We would have windows that open. But then we also would address some of the comfort needs because especially at Wilson, our HVAC system is the original in most of the building from 1959. And that boiler system no longer works either efficiently or effectively. We have uneven heat throughout the buildings, and any boiler system, once the heat is on, the heat is on. For the duration of winter, which, as you know, in Kansas, winter is never the same temperature every day. So that would help certainly with maintaining a comfortable temperature in which students could learn better. Because we have classrooms that vary from temperatures in the 50s to temperatures in the 80s on a daily basis. I'm most excited about the bond because it would address many of our learning needs. At Wilson, we are very limited on space, and most of our classrooms, other than our K1 addition that was added on in 1989, I believe, the rest of the classrooms are all between 650 to 750 square feet. So just getting that classroom space to get those right-sized closer to 900 to 1,000 square feet would give us the opportunity to have other learning groupings that we aren't able to do necessarily right now, like pull kids to the carpet and set them in places around the room and do small groups, where now we are very limited on space. And so that opens up learning opportunities, which makes learning more accessible, more fun, gives students more voice and choice in their learning. We would also be able to utilize some spaces in the hallways more effectively because they would build that into the learning spaces.
I think people should vote for this current bond because I think we're finally at a place where we've put a bond before the community that is not, I guess, like maybe some of our bonds in the past that were reduced down to try to get to a point that was passable. I didn't support some of those earlier bonds because at the end of the day, I think our community is ready to address all the needs of our district in terms of space. And we want to get to a place where we're not building a bond that only meets our needs for today. We're meeting our needs for the future. And so I just feel like as a teacher in the district, someone that will someday have a child going through USD 489 schools, and then as a taxpayer, if we're gonna do it, we need to do it right, and we need to have a bond that is gonna set up our district and community for the next 50 to 100 years, and this bond fits the bill. It's definitely a bond that addresses our dire and essential needs, especially when it comes to space. Our buildings are not equipped to handle the needs of 21st century students. They have served our community well, and they were places where people in our community can be really proud that they attended school, but the reality is that the needs have changed, and now I think it's time as a community, just like our community did decades ago, it's time for us to step up and do what needs to be done. And I hear a lot of people talk about the cost, but I think just from what I've seen in my experience in the classroom, the cost of not acting is far greater than any increase to our property taxes or our sales tax in the community. We have students that can't access parts of our building because of lack of wheelchair accessibility. There are students, even in our building at Hayes High, that just going to the bathroom on their own because of some of the unique physical needs that they have becomes really difficult. So we can address 21st century learning needs, and we can address the dignity of all of our students and really live out our district's mission of every student in every classroom every day getting an optimal learning experience. And so I think the investment is worth it, and I think the people that it will attract to our community will increase, because one thing Hayes has always had is a really strong educational system, and now is our chance to maintain that and keep it going into the future. So that's why I support this bond, and I hope that past students, parents of current students in our district, business leaders in our community, I hope everyone can rally around this, because it really is about keeping those core values and those foundational aspects of our community in place and putting us in a strong place to move into the future.
The bond will have a huge impact in Hayes. From our perspective, from an economic development standpoint, good schools and good facilities give us the opportunity to recruit people and businesses to our community. If we don't have those, it makes it much more difficult to get people to consider moving here, to get companies willing to consider investing here, and it just makes for a much more difficult economic environment, not to mention all the aspects that go with the experience for students and that type of thing. We have wonderful schools in terms of the quality of education here, but we just have chosen not to invest in our facilities, and that's just an investment we can no longer put off. We've got to do it now. One of the other aspects of this bond is the aspect of cost. We focus a lot about what the cost is going to be in terms of $143 million plus and what that means to each homeowner in terms of their monthly property tax or additional sales tax or whatever. And one of the things I think we don't focus on enough is what the cost of not passing this bond will be to this community. And in my opinion, it'll be far greater than the cost of the bond. The missed opportunities, the people that we can't get to come and move here and recruit here for as healthcare providers or other types of workers, because we've chosen not to make the investments in our schools. So if you look at the actual cost of the bond, while it is high, the cost of doing nothing is far greater. Schools are critical infrastructure. You've got to invest in them, just like we have to invest in streets and sewer lines and water treatment plants and that type of thing. And if we choose not to make those investments, we can't really expect other people to make investments in our community either.
The timeline for the voting is May 10th. That is a one-day walk-in election. Of course, there'll be some advance voting where you can walk in and vote in advance. This election will not have a mail-in piece, so you won't be able to do that. I believe the deadline to get registered is April 16th. And so if you're not registered and are eligible to be a registered voter, we would encourage you to take the necessary steps to get registered by April 16th. And you can find all that information on our USD 489 website, on our bond website page, and there are links that you can click and we'll get you to the right spot. Really excited about the opportunity to get this to voters and hear what voters have to say. We encourage you, if you're an eligible voter, to register and consider voting in the election. It's going to be important. Getting people to the polls is going to be the one thing that's going to help us get this the decision hopefully made in the right way.